comma 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 comma. It all goes around and around because Brad keeps slapping it all around and around. It keeps coming back to Brad like a boomerang. You are the boo. Brad is the mer. About the A-N-G. Whatever. Brad is the master of disaster because of all of the good stuff that happens after. Brad looks up to me when I am in a skirt, and Brad can see my panty. If there is any being Brad is easy. You just have to go without love and put up with a lot of jealousy and animosity. I think Brad is better off dead. I also think Brad has a prosthetic head. Brad flows like water being flushed down toilet bowls. I am glad I am Brad's wife. I always give Brad a chance to right when things go bad for Brad. I help Brad set things right. I don't want Brad to be with anybody else. So I make Brad out of sight, but not out of mind. I give Brad the meaning of life, which Brad transmits to people's conscious, which guides them toward the light, shining bright in front of their eyes. Then Brad makes them walk into a wall and fall in surprise. They fall in love with what they fall on, which is beneath them and in disguise. Happy inside, no good, pride, all wrong, unable to sing a real song because they have way too many secrets to hide. Most wrestle with their thoughts until Brad comes along, knocks them all out, says fuck off, then leaves them dazed and lost. Brad works day and night, and if Brad is in danger, it will be alright. Brad can put up with a fright. Brad wants to stop fighting for Brad's life, and Brad wants to think others are worth fighting for, but they are too busy fighting their way out of Brad's door. Brad gave up. Brad doesn't fight anymore. Brad is all consumed with Brad's self, alone, sitting, thinking about Brad in a room, facing certain doom. Brad is trying to hold up the curtain that is trying to drop down on Brad soon. It is not coming. Brad is really out there in darkness, like a lone wolf, howling at the sun and moon, wandering around, ready to duel, like it is always high noon. Brad's rhymes push me like I am in the hospital, going through pregnancy. Brad helps me grow up as I release my inner baby. It will be a cold day in hell if Brad ever goes there. Hell will have frozen over if Brad is chosen to go there. And if that is the case, Brad will put on a pair of ice skates and do figure eights. Brad will whip your ass like Brad is making batter to bake, then cook you. And when Brad is finished, Brad will cut you up and say to anybody near, piece of cake. Brad wants you to know what it is like to take a hike. Brad is better than you. Brad doesn't need you in Brad's life. Here are a good pair of shoes you can use from Brad. Brad is nice. With Brad it is nothing for nutting. I have a piece of paper and a pen, and I am thinking about Brad again. So I am bound to write nice words full of inspiration that the people of the world can use to get them through the times they doubt in their minds. When they think they are in a bad situation, Brad has a voice that makes my pussy moist. It just sits listening to Brad, constantly licking itself, driving me mad. If you don't like something Brad did or said, Brad doesn't care if you are alive or dead. Don't tell Brad. Tell one of your friends. Brad will just put a gun in your mouth, then a bullet through your head. Brad is too skilled to get lucky. So I just straight up want Brad to put Brad's dick in me and fuck me. At the least, I want Brad to make love to me. Brad makes way for the future to enter the present. The rest make way for Brad if they want to see it. Brad has to speed up the music to match Brad's lyrical movement. Brad has people stomping around like they think they are Brad and breaking new ground. Brad can get so hot. Brad applied for the position of a stove at a restaurant, but Brad doesn't put anything on the back burner. So Brad did not get the job. Brad started to boil, but Brad simmered down. Brad moved on. Now Brad just freelances around. When Brad was young, Brad was like, yay, I am Brad. I am going to be the best. There is ass is. Nobody can fill Brad's baby shoes. And Brad doesn't want to walk in anybody else's shoes. Because if Brad did, Brad would have to take off one of Brad's shoes. And Brad's shoes are still golden, like Brad. And the hope in him. I used to think everybody in the world knows who Brad is. Now, I think even more people in the world know who Brad is because of all the women that got pregnant. Since I wanted something hard, so Brad fucked me on the floor, under the bed, to make sure it was hard enough. Brad had me head banging until I couldn't take it anymore. The bed went higher than it ever did before. Brad is going to chop your head off and feed it to Brad's dog for a meal. Don't worry, Brad is just keeping it real. Brad is not loco or local. Brad is intergalactical. I am Brad's inner gal, acta gal. I travel through minds at the speed of life, and only Brad knows how. Brad sacrifices Brad's life for other people's life. Brad sacrifices Brad's death for other people's death. You are a lil tyke. Brad is a tonka. Brad is a boot to stomp on. Yeah, Brad didn't leave. The sun left Brad, and the night is only here because it has to be. Whatever that means. Brad is too lonely, it seems. Brad is funny. So that explains why Brad gets laughed at by everybody. Here comes a repeat. But it's alright. Brad is all about Brad now. So, where were we? Me. That's right. And upside down we. Brad believes in us. Inside. But outside. Brad lives lonely. Brad has your back. And Brad will slap you with your spine if You try to take it back. You are a horse's ass. Set. Ride on. And don't forget to take good care of it. Brad coasts through life, laying down on a gurney, in a dream state. So, Brad enjoys Brad's journey. Brad went to court, pled not guilty, and got a summons to appear on the jury. Brad replied back, saying, "It shouldn't concern me." Brad had to go anyway. It was a hectic day. At the end of it, Brad got off. Brad free. It was a hung jury. Brad left in a hurry, still filled with worry. But Brad sold a bunch of rope earlier, in anticipation of the outcome. So now Brad can take a vacation, then after, go home to Brad's mansion, relax, and laugh as Brad's dreams dance in front of him. Brad's words are like high-quality burps from someone from the burbs, hanging out with nerds, eating them like crunchy, tiny, tangy, tasty pieces of candy, making Brad speak sweetly, most whisper sweet nothing, and get mad at Brad for yelling sweet everything. Most people live putting no effort into fucking. Brad lives putting effort into life, like life has meaning, and Brad is worth loving. So, Brad is worth nothing, and Brad is never bluffing. Brad is a turkey with money, ass stuffing. Brad is not rambling. Brad is gambling with love in a fixed game that Brad broke by not taking life as a joke. Brad won all the love in everybody. Then Brad brainwashed them. Now they walk around Brad zombies, no longer thinking dirty, with dirty feelings. True champions of the human race, God's real beings, but not kneeling on the path to healing, the grieving, and sealing the fates of evil spirits, gathered in one spot, trying to take what Brad wants, and got shot, survived, but now walk around, blind and lost, in shit, shocked, and shunned by the flock that wants to rock, and listen to Brad talk, or maybe not, who knows. Brad is the best. I am geared toward the best. Me and Brad are in a perfect relationship. I am the best. Brad is the best. That is what we get. If you are not the best, you deal with that, not this. I am the best. Brad is the best. We are geared toward the best. The best is what Brad and I get. If you are not the best, you get rejected and have to deal with that, not this. I primped my hair all day long, getting ready to sing with Brad all night long. A never-ending or pretending love song. Me and Brad are the best. Me and Brad are geared toward the best. The best is me and Brad. If you are not the best, you get rejected and have to deal with what that is, not this. Brad is a fighter, knocking people over with jumbo, humble combos. The bafflings are trying to ruin things, but Brad keeps us laughing while doing things. Brad is the best. Grit, tin. Brad is the best. Livin'. Brad is the best. It's a given. Brad's naysayers are real horses. The rest are just go nowhere corpses. Brad gets so high, Brad's brain wants to die. Brad begins to add 2 plus 2 and wonders why it adds up to 5. 2, 2 plus 1. Son of a gun, loaded, locked, and ready to explode on everyone. Brad doesn't make people jump through hoops. Brad is yanking people's chains and making them come with Brad. Through the loops. Brad is going to take over the world. Like the second coming of Hitler. After going to hell and getting set straight by the devil, Brad was forgiven by God and risen again to do a better job. On Brad's way up to heaven, angels keep Brad company, while Jesus protects Brad from Brad's enemies that keep Brad on Brad's path to the next level. Brad went into the light after Brad put down the shovel. Brad's sight changed. Now Brad revels at life instead of thinking Brad is a rebel. Day and night is the same. Brad is capable. Brad can make and break chains without any trouble. Brad bursts bubbles after making one, then tosses substance at them as they fall. Then Brad watches them stick to everybody like bubble gum. Brad bought a love seat, brought it home and sat on it with me. We fell in love immediately, and still, here we be, sitting still in love with each other, like we always will be, forever, plus an eternity, in heaven or hell. I feel well, as long as Brad is here. I feel I fulfilled my destiny. I see it all clear, the way it should be. And me and Brad act accordingly. Brad plays me professionally, like an accordion, beautifully. And Brad plays me for fun, like a slinky. I am honored just to be thinking about Brad, just thinking about me and Brad in reality, together, maybe watching a movie. We need some chips. Excuse me, please. I want to get back quickly to my seat. Brad's misses me. Brad's love. So, when I go, I move to return swiftly back where I should be. On Brad's dick. Constantly thinking about Brad and me. In reality, me and Brad together doing all kinds of things like reading, watching TV, and listening to each other speak until our words soothe each other to sleep. And me and Brad are resting in peace. R.I.P. Indeed, me and Brad rip the fabric of life apart and go crazy mentally while lying around doing nothing but laughing hysterically and talking caringly. So, me and Brad can live more daringly, sparingly, never separately. Me and Brad and I together for life will never live desperately. Brad is a character, the best, and Brad is viewed as that by everybody, everywhere. Brad never lives uncharacteristically, and being Brad's best gal only benefits me in a good way. Brad paves our way. Any opportunity involving Brad is golden. Instantly, Brad ropes people in, then rides them to victory. Be my friend. Brad's new name, and who I am. You are the crap hole of Brad's eye. I mean, you are the apple of Brad's eye. I apologize. I am the crap hole of Brad's eye. I always leave Brad behind, then hit rewind, pause in my mind, think, record, then store away for a time to watch when I'm blank and need to fast forward my life to a place to call mine. Brad helps me face diversity so I can shine. Brad teaches me how to live through rhyme. I am the crap hole of Brad's eyes, and Brad is the apple of my eyes. We mix together, like an Anam song. Press play, and move on. Ask 1. Stop. 2. Sleep. Brad wakes me up. Pressing the repeat. But, in. With Brad. Get your ass kicked. Like it's practice. Me. And. Brad. Do it. Over. And. Over. Again. Me. And. Brad. For real. Or. Pretend. Me. And. Brad. Are together. Forever. With no end. My life. Is on lend. To Brad. Alone for life. Because. Brad gave me. Brad's life. Taught me. How. To love. And. Live. Right. Brad is. My first sight. Second. Third. And. Beyond. Brad. Made it. The ultimate. Sacrifice. Brad can't lose. Because. Brad is way too nice. To challenge you. Before that happens. We will have a scavenger hunt. See who can find you. Pull yourself together. There. Is no way around you. There. Is only one thing we can do. Break through. Always. Onto something new. Brad is a lifetime classic. Creating real life. Movie magic. To be. Enjoyed. By fanatics. Until the enjoyment gets destroyed by reality. And. There. Lives turn tragic. All other parts are meaningless. Ass kicks. Out the door. Quick. The fates of. The hateful. Hopeless. They just. Die. Off. Like a bad joke did. While. Brad is waiting. For a flood. Across the street. Waiting. For a chicken. To come. So. Brad can. Tell it why. It came. And. It can stop wondering. Then go to the sea. And. Start transforming. Into a fish. And begin. Flounder. Ing. Under the water. Like it thinks. It's an injured otter. Down it goes. To be buried beneath. On the bottom. Like it's an honor. Being Brad's girl. And loving Brad's boner. Now Brad. Is not a loner. When I am not with Brad. I am a moaner. A groaner. I wish Brad was softer. Either way. If. It. Comes. To a. Girl. Brad has. Probably. God. Her. And making somebody. Harder. Because. They lost her. Brad is the master. Brad replaces. Lambs. With. Humans. At the slaughter. And lives in peace out. In. The pasture. After. Like Brad saves. The human race. Brad sends the bad up to God. During. Raptures. Then God does what God does. To them. Then sends the qualifying ones. Back. To rejoin the human race. Again. After. comma 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 most can't cope with this or most can't work with it So most get dismissed, forced to quit, throw a fit, so get treated like a bitch, sound like a balloon, losing air, or a snake, going hiss, and most are neither, or either, which, ever, plus, most, are not a kid, maybe you are, if you are not, you are just, straight up, retarded. Brad lives in a frozen state, so, Brad is cold-hearted, Brad is not sore, Brad is sore, ing, like an eagle, breaking out, in, the, darkness, using Brad's vision, like lasers, lighting Brad's way, like, lightning, Brad blinking, in between, appearing, where the stars shine, the brightest, then, returning, before morning, to help, hold on, Brad is the tightest, Brad gives others confidence, and common sense, unless, they are dense, if they are, stormy rain will come, and, wash them away, along with their conscience, so, they won't notice, and, it won't matter, a bit, life gets worse, the madder people get, Brad is isolated, and, Brad stays, that way, on purpose, insulated, with happiness, Brad spends Brad's days, and, Brad's nights, curing curses, with wackiness, like Brad is, a Looney Tune, maybe Brad is, Daffy, Brad sends me over the moon, Brad, uses, Brad's, music, to defeat Brad's enemies, and spread justice, to the masses, Brad is a hero, not stopped, by, challenges, Brad is a zero, not falling, through the middle, Brad plugs it up, so, people can come across, to the other side, every shot Brad takes is, bank, and, Brad, always, holds, the money ball, every shot Brad, takes is, bank, and, Brad thanks God, for always passing Brad the money ball, so, Brad can take, and, make, the perfect shot, which is what Brad takes, and, every shot Brad takes, is, bank, and Brad always shoots, the money ball, and, Brad thanks God, for Brad's rank, as captain, so, Brad is never, having, to walk the plank, Brad always takes, an escalator, or, elevator, up to heaven, as, I send Brad, many more, thanks for, tossing everybody else, overboard, and, sending them, to hell, where they, just rank, equally, and, get beat, by the devil, frequently, Brad has been left, behind, and, Brad doesn't mind, Brad is a pure, goldfish, shark, whale, combo, that, could, never fail, so, Brad's story goes, getting told, over, and, over, everybody else's, paving new roads, we roll, over together, until, we come, to a bend in the river, argue, over the direction to go, and split forever, gone, to pave more unneeded, useless, roads, for the future, to travel, over, you can't be trying your hardest, if your effort was measured, you would probably get beat, with a, yardstick, that is, what I said to Brad, ass, I looked at Brad's dick, Brad rhymes cash, that Brad shits out, of, Brad's ass, and into a toilet, where it backs up the pipes, and, returns to Brad, fast, I have the bra, Brad has the D, me, and, Brad, go together, naturally, Brad is a wuzzle, Brad is, God, and, Satan, Brad is a, God tin, Brad picked up a pen, and, forgot, what Brad was going to write, so, Brad wrote this, instead, and, now it is my time to, shine, by, reciting it, most, run around, with no rhyme, or, reason, Brad sits around, with both, and doesn't care how most are feeling. They act like they keep hitting their heads off of ceilings. When it comes to Brad, most are unappealing. Brad sees a girl, and it is batter up ass. She bats her eyes at Brad, trying to hit a home run. Me and Brad always get along well. Brad always makes me wet, and Brad is always on fire. Me and Brad apart equals danger. Would be nothing stranger. Me and Brad need each other to protect each other and make each other safer. I would drown without Brad. Brad would burn without me. Brad's skills are like A.D. after death, because playing Brad is like being heaven sent. Unbelieve. Bull. Shitter. An elephant. A chipmunk. And a flamingo went to a concert to see the Beatles. A dog and a frog sat together on a log, drinking eggnog, engulfed by fog. I figure if Brad just sits here and I talk for a bit, Brad is bound to get rich and famous in just a few minutes. If people listen, what's wrong? What's the matter? Can't handle. I love Brad. Chatter. Scatter. Brad. Hit the jackpot. No matter what. Why with Brad, everybody acts like nothing matters. Most are 18 and over. Brad is any age and just beginning. Brad learns by losing and winning. Brad wants to invite people to Brad's birthday party, but Brad would have to tell them to go to hell, and Brad doesn't want to offend them, so Brad probably won't. It is alright. Nobody has to die. Oh wait, yes, somebody does, but it is up to God to decide. Brad's thought is fraught with rot, and they are all Brad has got. Brad knows how to act, and Brad knows how to use Brad's voice. Brad is all grown up. Brad is Brad by choice. Brad likes big yachts. I can not lie. Brad falls in love every time one floats by. Brad has to get one and make it mine. Brad likes big yachts, and I can not lie. Big yachts are always on Brad's mind. It is not just about the size. It needs to look and perform good under the sun and moon on the ocean as it shines. Brad needs to get one to call Brad's and sail it beside mine romantically, like me and Brad sailing through life. In my mind, Brad livin' makes most others livid. Brad drinks pickled pink pussy juice. Brad is me, not you. Brad should bust a move, maybe two, or standing still in a groove with nothing to prove. Brad has 99 problems, and Brad caused all of them. Brad has 99 problems, and Brad is trying to dodge all of them. Brad has 99 problems, but Brad is not one of them. Brad has 99 problems, one for each person, trying to be Brad's friend and talk to him. Brad has 99 problems caused by Brad being too big and walking all over them without noticing. During a food fight, Brad would throw mashed potatoes at your face, then 2 knives at your eyes. It is not a big bad world. Now, It is a big Brad world. Wow. It is a big Brad world. Out there. You gotta watch Brad's back. No matter what you do. Most are long. Ing. Brad is B. Long. Ing. It is not bad anymore. It is now. Brad. Forevermore. And that is not bad. For Brad. I am sure. Now. It is not about who is going to be the best. It is about who the best is. Now. When Brad dies, I die. And that is that. Like a suicide pact. I am just joking. That would be whack. There is a dog on couch. Get dog off couch. Ouch. I fell over the dog on couch. Brad is how it was. Brad is how it is. Brad is how it will be. Always. Brad is who I am. I am me. Brad is on an ego trip. And Brad likes the scenery. So, Brad is going to slow down. It was all getting too blurry. Complaining is restraining and emotionally draining. You should always keep your eyes on your face, the prize, and smile. You are number one out of the entire human race. Brad is glad everything is afoot and not a feat, because Brad can take part while stomping it down without tasting defeat. With Brad, everything is a feat. Your ass doesn't speak too well. Your gut is its brain. And you only hear what it is saying. Brad doesn't know where to go. So, Brad goes out looking for Brad's berry. Oh, Brad makes a game of it. The plot twist is Brad's survival. Will Brad be able to continue Brad's journey? Or will Brad be buried in a hole? Brad needs to lay down in the back of a hearse. Brad is a coffin. And Brad can't stop. Brad coughs so much. Brad's heart hurts. Most crack jokes in half. And they don't know where to go. So, nobody laughs. Brad takes everybody out. Like they are on a first date. And makes everybody pay. Brad can do better. Just step up. And you will see. But it won't be free. Or feel like it should be. True lies with Brad. More comfortably. Brad is constantly living in an emergency. So, Brad is always sand bag ing with urgency. Brad is nom. I am miss. And for every problem in your life, you can use us as a healing device. Brad plays the video game. Not a video game. Later on, I may explain. Moron. Go play a game. Brad plays wives and wins to cleanse them of their shame. Later, I may explain. Brad makes people laugh and cry, live, then commit suicide. Good God. Brad wonders. Then, Brad remembers. God gave us free will, and Brad no longer wants to kill. Brad makes love every time Brad does something, and it doesn't matter what. Brad will take a flying leap with a fastball and dunk it through a hoop while wearing a tutu, just to impress you all. To Brad, it goes to Brad. People are like stranded marionettes. Brad is the puppet master of people's conscience. Brad is cutting their strings and leaving them fallen. For Brad, no money, no problem. Brad still has it going on. There is no shift of power. Brad just wants to star, or at least take part in one of Brad's love songs. Dig a hole, fill it with your tears, then jump in, and have fun. 4 years. You are all a bunch of crockpots. And Brad has the beef. Brad doesn't forget. Brad ignores. Brad is the man. Because Brad has balls. And a dick. And much more. Plus, Brad knows how to use it. All. And what it is. All. For one. And one for all. Brad wants to be publicly owned and privately operated. Brad is going to start selling stock wherever Brad may roam, to whoever may want it. Brad would rather be alone in a swamp somewhere, talking to an alligator, saying glad you are here, as one is laying there beside Brad, as Brad is sitting in a chair with a mare on Brad's other side, waiting to go for a ride with Brad out in the open air, with the wind rushing through our hair. Brad lives outlined in talk. Brad is a rock star miracle. Here Brad, there Brad, everywhere Brad is on. It is all about Brad. And if you are not down with Brad, Brad will make sure you are after Brad kicks your ass. Anybody will be down for the count. 1, 2, 3. Back to B-R-A-D. Brad doesn't waste people's time. Brad takes it and makes it more fit and kind. This is a fuck up, not a set up. Brad is back, like a Mac, on crack. But Brad forgot that. Then Brad remembered and returned with Brad's new needlepoint tool. Fast. Most people drink wine and let wine pour out of their mouth. Brad speaks like Brad knows what Brad is speaking about. Brad lives in a bottomless hole, meaning me, my pussy, and my ass. I am writing this while Brad is but fucking me and writing his own rhyme on my back. Fight the power and power to the people. So the people are just out there fighting each other, not realizing they are equal. Brad has heads rolling around on the ground. Brad has a high nostalgia factor. The excellence of execution. Brad has lots of plans and executes them. Brad has a hairpin chicken finger. Brad is itching to give another video a clicking. Brad's brain works like a high quality, sharp steel bladed blender, constantly set at high speed, ready to dismember. Brad protects like a fender. All sorts of people are outside Brad's door. None of them knock, and Brad doesn't know them or what they are here for. Brad would have packed Brad's bags even if she said hi, but she did not. So long. Buy Brad's stuff if you can. For now, Brad is off to get high. It is alright. No bad feelings. Brad holds Brad's self up through highs and lows. Brad just can't get the two together to say high, low. Brad tries, but instead gets hell, oh, so close. But no, Brad keeps trying. That is why Brad keeps going up and down like a yo. No string though. Brad is broke, unplayable. Nobody wants to fix Brad. So Brad doesn't bring enjoyment to the world. Brad makes people cry and feel miserable. People act like Brad is invisible, and that makes Brad invincible. Brad knows how to act and how not to act with Brad. It is Bandy mind for Brad has Bandy on Brad's mind. Dead air. It got eaten by a grizzly bear. It is alright. It will be back in a bit. Dirty and smelling like shit. No wonder your dreams don't come true. You are not true. You are a fuck up. So, fuck it all up. If they do, I came to Brad's door and saved Brad. I don't think there was any other way to get Brad through the jealousy. Now, I am here with Brad, fighting things nobody wants anybody else to see. I want to do more than help Brad avoid tragedies. I love Brad. Happily. Brad makes me more. Thankfully. Brad hopes everybody has a nice day and night. Brad is petrified. That is why Brad just stands around. Brad don't know how to live. That is why Brad just stands Brad's ground. But Brad knows what Brad is doing, and that is why people care, but are scared. So, leave at the first sight of despair. Brad and I love ourselves, and it shows. Most don't even know themselves, and it shows. Most just go to school, then get a job, then get married, then there she blows. A whale in the ocean. That's deep. Brad's dick in my butt. That's deep. Here's to hoping tonight Brad will sleep. That's deep. My ass is in place when it is in Brad's hands, or sitting on Brad's face. I love Brad. I want Brad to help me have my kin. If I can't have Brad, I am a lesbian. Brad is all grown up. You are all thrown up. Bye Brad. Watch out below. Brad won't be there when you land. I love Brad. Doesn't speak too loud. I love Brad. Speaks too proud. I love Brad. Speaks true. A way to. I love Brad. Speaks in a way that helps people make it through anything they need to. I love Brad. Please ask me to marry you. I will say yes. And when we say I do, it will finally prove. I love Brad. We'll never lose. I love Brad. Say you love me back. And we can walk together through life wearing a brand new pair of shoes. Brad lives in deep grooves. It helps Brad keep Brad's grip as Brad moves. Go butt fuck yourself with your wife's favorite dildo. Bitch. When she isn't home, clutch onto whatever you need to. Especially if you are a dude that has no balls to clutch onto. For you, an insult is all I got, because that is how you treat life, and you are supposed to get back what is right. Brad says a lot of stuff when it doesn't matter. Brad says a lot of stuff when it does matter. What Brad says amounts to shit or chatter. What Brad says might make you grind your teeth until they shatter. The music thrives as the lyrics grow and guide the people on their way to create a world. The best thing about Brad is Brad's wow factor, and the best thing about that for you is it is spelled and said the same, front and backward, and even if you left out a letter, you would get whoa or our OW which or whatever. You're so jealous. It really doesn't matter. You are dumb. And if you are not, it is because Brad is smarter. Brad has a bigger and better brain than what most people have got. Brad is fighting world wars You are trying to kill the laughter. You have secrets that keep you poor. Brad is free to move and speak. Plus Brad can get paid like an actor. Brad is old, original, and makes sense. Brad is an old, new sense. You see, you eat casserole. Brad don't see anything. Brad eats asserole. Brad eats us whole. Well, Brad eats my asshole. Holding my butt with one hand, and in Brad's other hand, there is a roll. Time to roll on. Brad throws curveballs at people, so they don't hit them. Brad has to do something with Brad's balls. For Brad, it is stressful being so special. Brad is there when you need him. When you don't, Brad is bleedin'. With Brad more is less. That is why when I am with Brad, I am panty-less. With most people, it is so what? With Brad, it is sold out stadiums and millions of bucks. Brad has lots of options and can afford to lose a lot of them. Brad talks the talk, but Brad would cause earthquakes if Brad walked the walk. So Brad does not, so the ground won't cave in by the shock like people do when Brad starts to talk. Brad always gives it a shot and kills it. Sometimes it is a long shot that Brad doesn't notice. Brad won't scream bloody murder. Brad will bring bloody murder. Don't be dumb. Drink your red rum. With Brad, it is home is where the heart is. With everybody else, it is home is where you fart, bitch. And with most it shows and smells like it. Brad is the best ever. Anybody who says Brad is not should have their voice box severed. Brad drops the beat quicker than I drop my panty. When I am with Brad, I am not lost. It is sort of like golf. Pan, tee off, and Brad has the right club to always hit a hole in one. Brad is the hot sun, always followed by a full moon, both shining bright, but not being together feels like doom. There is nowhere to go from here. It is an obstacle that overcoming is impossible. And if we tried to, the only option would be us falling, getting hurt, and crying meaningless tears. Which is why I and Brad live in fear and love so much when we each other are near. I love Brad. Forget this reality. Let's move on to another fantasy. I love Brad. Remember my panty? Me neither. I threw them away because of you. I am not wearing any. I needed a breather. I love Brad. Makes me want to be much more friendly, much less eager. I love Brad. Can't be beat by a cheat. I love Brad. I am sure. I love Brad. Washes away dirt from my heart and makes my heart pure. I feel like I am about to jump, start a new life. When Brad is near, I feel all I should do is cheer. All I can think about is Brad's hands on my rear. I love Brad. With Brad, I feel no fear. My vision is clear. All I am wishing is Brad to never disappear. Brad comes first because Brad speaks leadership words that guide people as they walk their path across earth. Brad can tread water and fly like a bird, but Brad is not so special. Brad doesn't poop white turd. Brad could go off the chain, say strange things, like Brad is going to put bullets in all your brains, and all the other same type stuff you have always heard. But Brad learned the bad burned. Brad and got back handed by Satan in return, and now rest uneasy with their bodies buried underground, or with their ashes in an urn, with no one concerned, while Brad stands tall and strong like a mighty evergreen fir. Brad can rejuvenate if needed as a cure. Me and Brad were the man and the woman, both loving what we are doing and never here boo-ing. We're too good, and that is what we are choosing. As long as I love Brad, I could never be losing. Brad always feels like crying and dying while rhyming. Brad is finding nothing worth finding. So, Brad just keeps shining, blinding, and denying all finding. All Brad forgot as Brad climbs to the top, just to fall into a casket that closes shut, then drops down to hell to burn, turn to ashes, then rot with the devil until forgiven by God, risen to heaven, and told good job by Jesus. Proceeded by Brad, replying, no prob. Now Brad goes to and from hell, earth, and heaven. Ass. Brad wants one on a good-looking, kind-hearted chick. One Brad can marry, take home, and sleep with on her ass. Perhaps Brad will rest Brad's head on a soft pillow built to last. At last, Brad will rest in peace without thinking about being eaten by a beast that lurks in darkness, waiting to feast on the helpless and the weak. And Brad's dream will finally be complete. Hell, low, high, low, howdy, high, be. Brad, your name escaped me. Why do you hate me? I want you to love me. I am tired of dreaming about you raping me. People told Brad to go to hell. So Brad did, and kicked Satan out. The winds of change are blown by Brad's breath, which is generated by Brad's words, which come from Brad's brain, which will remain even after death in the eras coming up next, in the form of, well, we will just leave it up to them. But until then, you give it your all from the get-go, while Brad is just getting started from the get-go. Most, when it comes to Brad, have to let go. You're going to lose Brad. Just to let you know, I am Brad's heroine. I pulled Brad out of a pit of despair and made Brad care again. Roses are red, violets are blue. Brad wipes Brad's ass after taking a poo. And also, Brad wipes Brad's mouth after getting sick when Brad has the flu. Brad is shallow, like wading at a pool. Brad has both feet in the deep end of the water, with Brad's socks off, and pant legs rolled up, trying to keep cool. Brad is cool. Brad is too cool. Brad is too cool. Brad is too cool. Brad is way too cool. Brad lost. Brad's cool. Brad is coo. Brad needs to get back on track, like a broken down chew. Brad needs a lady to kiss Brad's boo. Brad needs somebody to Come and show Brad a heart that is true, so Brad can start a life that is new. Then Brad can show the world Brad has a heart to the people, so they can begin rolling again towards a future that will unfold according to what it is being told and projected by Brad's words and my vocal cords. We cut through the present like a pair of sharp swords. Give in at Christmas time. Brad does this day and night. Give in thanks to the Lord and to the angels that carry Brad, so Brad can soar. Brad lives in tarnation, always paving the way for people to take a vacation. Brad is the best. Brad is filled with frustration. Everybody is a loser compared to him. Brad feels very annoyed. Brad wants to be surrounded by winners, but Brad is the only one, and that brings nobody joy. So Brad sits alone, part of a ploy. Brad is not really part of anything. People just keep playing with Brad, like Brad is a toy. Oi, minus AT, add AC. Here comes koi. Scratch that, like a Brad rap. All of it, like playing horse, and no one can catch. Of course, Brad is just running back and forth, playing with himself. Fetch. That is how Brad got so fast. And also Brad is jumping up and down. The monkey in the middle of two ghosts playing around. That's why Brad keeps reaching new heights above and below the ground. Brad is the answer to questions. Brad is the solution to riddles with no clues to them to be found. Me and Brad have a bond that's been going on for years and is still going strong through laughter and tears. Brad is all I see when I look in mirrors. Brad is all I hear between my ears. Brad's thoughts is all I got on my brain, and they remain sincere. Brad is crisp and clear. Brad is a reason not to fear. Cheer. Brad. I love Brad with all of my heart. I always want Brad here with me, so I never think me and Brad will ever be apart. I can't imagine what has happened. I think Brad's love has trapped me in. The thoughts I have of Brad keep me from snapping. Brad is an amusement ride and I am strapped in. I hope Brad never quits rapping. I pretend Brad's lips are my wings. Brad's speech keeps raising me up. I hope Brad's gums never stop flapping. Brad's words stick to me and are everlasting. Like a gobstopper, I am Brad's girl. Nobody but Brad is stronger. Nobody but Brad will top her. Nobody but Brad. I am writing this because Brad was frustrated about not writing anything and annoyed at not being rich. The enjoyment I get from this is a bonus. Now, Brad is rich and famous, and Brad wants that kind of anus on a chick that will at least suck Brad's dick. If not, marry it. So, here I am, trying everything I can to be Brad's friend, trying to be the best woman for Brad is the best man. We go together like Adam and Eve, going back in time and doing the right thing, then continuing to the future, hand in hand, through a new beginning, seeing sights never before seen, knowing knowledge never before dreamed, forgiven, deemed worthy to be free. Bells chiming in our heads, like when wedding bells ring, causing us to sing in harmony. Me and Brad in perfect sequence, like a symphony. And now, for something funny. Brad had a clue, but Brad thought it was a cookie. Ate it, then lost it, when Brad had Brad's next coup. Now Brad is back where Brad began, searching for something new. Brad pissed away half of Brad's career, and Brad is currently working on shitting the other half out of Brad's rear. Brad has holes in Brad's clothes, and also snot. Brad uses them to wipe Brad's nose off. Plus, Brad uses them to cover Brad's mouth when Brad has to cough. The only way people can make mistakes is pretending they are Brad, having what it takes to be somebody other than fakes. The inferiors need to work on their interiors. We did, changed and became superiors. You are not special because you have a butt. Your butt is special because it has you. It is up to you how special it is. Brad is the sole survivor. That is why Brad keeps getting higher. Look at Brad go up to heaven. Brad and Brad's soul up and away to a place that is peaceful. What is on the menu? It says it right there. Me. N. You. It is true. If you care. Brad's team is built with love. And love concerns all. Brad lifts everybody up. And everybody softens everybody else's landing when Brad lets go and they fall. Fuck off everybody. If you want to run Brad's life, you will have to take it from me. I will take yours without thinking twice. If you succeed, I will come back and return to Brad. At night, after I send you to hell. After Brad knocks out your lights. The only thing you will see are flames burning bright. Feeling only pain. And suffocating on smoke. Filling you up inside. Until you choke then die. Until then, it only matters to you. If you cry. If nobody likes you, it is up to you if you care why. It would be no surprise if people you were around said to you their goodbyes. But they won't. They need you, as part of their disguise. To try to cover up their lies. Not knowing what to say. While Brad chats all day, with pride, and soars like an eagle flies. And at night Brad shines, like all the stars gathering together in the sky. Brad needs house money so Brad can play. Then, win some cash, get an ass, marry that, and have a family. Someday, maybe, Brad will have a baby. Sounds crazy. That would be cheating. Basically, erasing the purpose of everything that life would mean. We need a new beginning. It would seem the end of all dreams is due to sinning, and the cause of all screams. The reason happiness is diminishing. The pictures Brad paints are turning into doodles and abstract art painted with blood from Brad's heart, so Brad still gets kudos. Brad replaced pasta noodles. Brad can get good girls with rich mothers that have classy poodles. Bed all the bitches at the same time while writing a rhyme. I would go into details. I don't want to be rude though, so I won't tell tales of stolen hope. Brad is worth less, like a mini dress. Brad makes others more attractive at Brad's expense. Brad gives advice to presidents. Brad's head is filled with precedents, put there by others feeling Brad's relevance. While Brad stays grounded like a herd of elephants. Unless Brad needs to fly. Then Brad spreads Brad's wings and takes flight. Like a pelican, never to be seen again. Until Brad comes back, unexpectedly to spread new knowledge. Brad received from beyond the capabilities of thoughts from a normal human being. Brad bed surfs, trying to catch a perfect 10. Brad is riding the babes. In, and, to the end. I am Brad's door. In and out of me goes Brad. Brad keeps my hinges oiled. With the dipstick Brad has. I am walkie, Brad is talkie. We communicate with each other constantly and we speak honestly. Brad wants to stop having fun and Brad wants to become a nun. Brad wants to stop having fun and Brad wants to begin becoming a nun. Brad gets none. You do not need long hair. 2 headbang here. Just a wall. And a bit of control. So you won't break through and fall. Brad will die with a smile on Brad's face. Resting in peace is the best in every place. Brad has holes in Brad's shirt and getting them there hurt. Brad fell asleep with a lit cigarette and got burnt. Brad has holes in Brad's pants and getting them there made Brad dance. Brad was waltzing with moths and ants. Brad would be dead but Brad was given another chance to live. So, Brad gives this Brad's all, trying to make the most of it. Some jealous say Brad is stupid. Some say Brad is a genius. But whatever Brad is, I am glad Brad is what I am, thinking, seeing, and feeling, and it is pleasing to me to be one of Brad's achievements. Brad has won a trip for two to wherever Brad wishes to go. Brad just has to close Brad's eyes and jump through at least one window, and Brad is home. Brad and Brad's mind, wherever Brad may roam. I am with Brad, and we are always playing but golf. Brad's dick is the club, which we share, and Brad's 2 balls are the balls. The game is always fair and Brad always hits a hole in one. And we always have lots of fun, and it is never close in time, but always close in time, and mostly I'm just thinking about Brad coming in my mind. Then, here Brad comes, and I stop on a dime. I bend over to pick it up. Brad sees my butt and thinks my butt is a mountain, and Brad begins to climb up to the top, where the sun is guaranteed to shine. And I just lie on my back like I'm getting a tan, burning in hell, where Brad transforms me into a fan of Brad's, and Brad turns me on, so I don't get burned by the flames. Brad makes my pussy wet and keeps a hand on it to control the spray, just in case I am not fail-safe. This isn't 1993 or 20OT. H-R-E-E. This is B-R-A-D. Maybe it is the 80s when Brad was a baby. But maybe not. Brad grew up. Now Brad knows how to walk and talk. Plus, Brad knows the true meaning of love. And it shows. And all of this shows when Brad shows off and up and leaves like a plane. Wave goodbye. There goes Brad again. Relaxing. First class. No pain. That's not bad. I am glad for Brad. You would think Brad could. If Brad couldn't, I would be mad and kind of sad. Brad deserves to walk along a good path to a destination that is not a place for trash. With a girl with Brad that Brad wants to have, so they can live in a life they both love to have. Brad works on Brad's performance and on Brad's mind. Now, Brad is the best, leaving the rest behind. Brad is confused. Brad feels used and abused. Brad feels like Brad is always going to lose, no matter what Brad do. Keeps falling on Brad. So, people think Brad is a piece of poo, and there is too much, and it is too constant to clean off. Brad almost drowned in the water when Brad tried to wash. Now all Brad can do is floss and wander around, lost, rubbing crap from Brad's eyes, in hopes of seeing a lasting pleasant surprise, while letting wax build in Brad's ears, so Brad can try to stop hearing lies. Brad lives only trying to see and hear good things, with only enemies near, trying to make Brad live in fear. Unhappy, only happy thinking they are wasting Brad's career. Everybody come in. into Brad's vision, leaves. Within 3 seconds. Just to come back, and do it all over again. For some unknown reason. Not B, R, A, D, the B, E, S, T, in the W, O, R, L, D. Spelled out for those who can read. Brad, the best in the world. Said. For those who can't, but are listening, this might not make sense to you. But, it does. To me. I am. Mixing. Fantasy and reality. Because. Being the best in both worlds are the hands God and Satan has. Handed Brad. Brad is honored. Honestly. Now. I know. Why. I have 2 hands. And can read. The palms on both of them. And see the future coming. Before it reaches the present. So, if needed, Brad can change it without hesitation. So, Brad won't bring devastation. Brad doesn't fit in with people because Brad is way too busy directing them. Brad has to go to ensure Brad's brain won't go insane. Who knows what will happen? If it does, Brad is looking for love too. And your Brad's brain stays sane. To ensure Brad grows up into a person worthy of thinking of and loving without needing drugs. So Brad won't start crumbling. Brad is grown up, but not an adult. Brad does not lie. Brad does what Brad should. Brad is a good guy, and Brad speaks without saying and or mumbling. Brad is super fly, and it is no wonder why. Brad is up so high, where nobody has ever been, and seeing things nobody else will ever spy. Die inside. Secrets kill. The will make you live like you are committing suicide. comma, 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 comma. When I am with Brad, I feel like I am. With Brad, I feel like I have a friend. Brad gives my existence meaning. Brad says stuff for my brain to comprehend. Brad keeps me beaming like lights on a car at night, taking me to my destination and tucking me in tight. Brad is gleaming like lightning strikes, striking everywhere and everybody more than twice. Brad leaves people steaming like flaming piles of poop, then stomps on them to put them out and be polite. Brad will bring the final solution to end the Third Reich when Brad takes Brad's position and begins Brad's First Reich. Brad gets behind by getting ahead of Brad's self. Brad has infinite sight. Brad can see inside life. Brad moves in stealth mode. Brad's mental health is most important because that is what will unfold for the future to bring to the present for the people to hold and use as the foundation to build a new world. Brad's knowledge is endless with no hurdles to jump over or crawl under. Brad wonders in unknown wonders, surrounded by others, wondering about Brad's wonders. Brad lives wonderfully with others. Brad wants to cry, lay down and die. Brad looks at Brad's life and wonders why. Brad is alive. Brad is like an entity. Brad is inspiration to others. But Brad was never meant to be. Brad is the best and wants to be. No ands, ifs, or buts, unless it is Brad kicking butts and giving people split ends while standing stiff, frozen in iffy situations with no foreseeable escape out of them, wandering in confusion in a world resembling oblivion. Brad creates something out of anything and everything. Brad is the best. If you don't think so, you must not be listening to and with the heart in your chest. When it speaks of Brad is all about the meaning of reality, which comes in many forms. Unfortunately, however, we will base it more on Brad's life because Brad lives more factually, physically and mentally. Plus Brad's rhymes have Brad living more attractively and have more functionality. Brad is right on time. Brad has very good punctuality. God, please help Brad be strong during Brad's quest to belong. Thank you for helping Brad hang on and not fall off. Up to this point, may Brad go and be guided rightfully by Brad's song. From now on, Brad wants to shut this down. Brad wants to relinquish control. Brad wants to leave it in the hands of those more capable. Brad has too much hate. Brad can't let go. If Brad makes it through life alive, it will be a miracle. Like Brad stopping this. For real, Brad won't until Brad dies and finally goes home. Whatever. I am just saying. Brad slaps eggs off faces with pieces of bacon. Brad is a doer. I get things done. We are here to play games and have some fun. Not act like copy cats that have no brains. So, say strange things. Because we are dumb. At least it is natural. Why you don't shoot yourself with a gun and just walk around going ho-hum while Brad just looks at you thinking ho-hum, thinking nothing. So nothing happens. as Brad directs the human race through Rapin, then just sits back to see what takes place, and to take blame for those trying to disrupt, but can't corrupt, can't handle it, but won't give up. So it is either that, or a shellackin', shish, to the eye. So Brad is what we are lacking. Brad scares the shit out of people because they are filled with too much of it. So that could only lead to something good. And I would like to be part of something good too. So, boo, Brad could be mistaken. Perhaps you are not worth hating, and Brad is wasting Brad's days and nights. Masturbate in. Brad had egg on Brad's face. So, Brad smoked some buds, got hot, fried it up, ate it, and enjoyed the taste. Brad is trying to end the madness. Brad realized the error of Brad's ways, and who the bad is. Brad is the baddest. Brad will beat you down with one punch to the top of your head. Brad is putting on a show in hell, and you have a starring role there, while Brad performs the sequel in heaven and soothes angels to sleep in their beds with what Brad said. Then Brad comes down to earth again, where me and Brad paint the towns white, not red. If you and Brad stepped into the ring, it would be embarrassing. Brad would walk out and replace Brad with your pet, then call you Dog Chow without any regret. Brad laughs as Brad watches you get eaten by Fido. Like Fido heard the dinner bell ringing. Brad won't hear you screaming. Brad will be too busy singing for the audience who bought tickets to be seeing something to believe in. Disappointment happens for a reason. It separates the real that keep from the fakes that abandon the true way they are feeling. It shows who is worthy of succeeding and who should be essentially alone in a ditch, struggling to be breathing. We are God's beings. We do what God chooses. We are what God is achieving. God never snoozes. God is all-seeing. God gave us free will, but God can step in for the kill if that is God's will, or what God pleases. God drops mercy upon us. We need to chill. It is easy peasy to pay God's bill and live on top of the hill. We just need to work hard, develop ours, and still care for the ill. Most people are so dumb. They have a bum for a head and a head for a bum. This little light of Brad's, I am going to let it shine right in front of live people's eyes, so Brad can watch people walk into walls blind, then bounce into, then off each other, acting kind as a smile guides their way inside Brad and my mind, and Brad finds reason to rhyme. Brad didn't belong in any place Brad was meant to be. It was too dark. Brad couldn't see. So, Brad became a star and lit Brad's path to victory. Now Brad leads. If you get lost, follow the drops of blood. Brad bleeds. When Brad rhymes, it is like grace for the human race. Like we are giving thanks for the life Brad gives and the food Brad puts on our plates. As we sit around and discuss everything in existence that me, Brad, Jesus, God, and Satan create, and the fates that await us in the coming days and nights. that will escape us and turn everything meaningless. Only we see this. The transition is seamless. Now, Brad is dreamless because Brad entered the dream world and seized it, made it Brad's own. Now, Brad won't free it. When Brad dies, Brad's life will be completed. It is never a dull day or night, for Brad is too sharp. Brad cuts through it all and sticks in the heart. So, people don't know what to think of Brad. And for Brad, from start to finish, it all just seems to fall apart. Brad just had a dull day and a dull night because Brad is sharp. We have heart, and we never have to fight. This is it. It is over. Brad is walking down death row. It is a long road to hoe. Brad has been, ever since Brad has been getting older. That is why Brad dedicated Brad's life to God and Satan, and filed the rest away, like finger and toenail shavings, placed in a filing cabinet, in case later Brad needs to have it. Just say, what did Brad just say? Then forget about it. Brad speaks, without doubt, in Brad's mind, about the words Brad is speaking. So, Brad keeps people interested and listening. If Brad begins shaking and fidgeting, I use my brain to slay bullshitting. If Brad is in danger, I will go berserk and kill everybody I see in anger. If you see Brad, feel free to try to wave and or say hi. Then hope for the best. But if you don't get a reply and your feelings get hurt, please don't call the police and try to have them make an arrest. Brad isn't even worth anything outside of this. Brad has to do a few better things now. First, then maybe Brad can get back to what is worse. Brad has to do other better things first. Then things can get worse. I don't think Brad will ever get help. I don't think there is even light at the end of the tunnel. Brad doesn't even see a hole. If it wasn't for the feeling in Brad's body, Brad wouldn't even know Brad was moving. Brad's world is as dark as a stranger's heart, and soul, and heaven, or hell, are Brad's only choices of where Brad can go. Brad burns and turns into ashes, falls into a stream, and continues to flow until Brad pulls Brad's self together, and the wind blows Brad up to Brad's second home, where Brad takes Brad's place on Brad's rightful throne, until Brad is ready to return to Earth, to continue the search for a spot to call Brad's own. Like when the spotlight is on, Brad feels like Brad belongs, except Brad will be able to go to bed, get some rest, wake up refreshed, and show the world that Brad is blessed. I trust Brad, and what Brad is saying, it is like Brad is bringing me answers from God to prayers that I am saying. I just forget. Satan is also playing, so Brad seems bad at times. To help pave the way for him, Brad lives in a grave situation with a mental state most people hate and would hate to be in. Brad knows how to lose and how to win. Brad doesn't know which to do, and that causes Brad to live in a state of confusion. Brad lives in many worlds and fuses them together, and Brad sees varying results. 2 experiments Brad conducted using thoughts going nowhere. Brad sent them somewhere out there to see if they would survive. They did not die. They are still alive. Plus, they were able to find their way back to their right, full brain, mind. Now I know. Brad is sane. Brad teaches people how to live without losing their minds and without feeling any pain. I want Brad to be in a good place with a wife that has a smile on her face instead of facing Brad's doom, all consumed, all by Brad's self, unable to speak truth. It is already assumed. I just want to say everything Brad says. Brad says, like it doesn't matter, because Brad gets treated that way. Brad shatters dreams. But if you pick up the pieces, a better dream awaits you. If you embrace it, Brad always rocks and rolls Brad's self into follies and holes. Then I jump in, push Brad up, then Brad lifts me up, and out we go to put on another show without rehearsing, to keep things real. Me and Brad are on a lifetime joyride called Appeal. Me and Brad are like a couple of eels. Brad electrifies people's minds. I squeeze people's bodies. Together we control what the human race does and how everybody feels. Brad steps up to the plate and hits bombs out of the park like Brad is saving the place from destruction. But then aliens start coming, complaining. Something unknown hit one of them, and it was coming from this direction. They want an explanation. They were on an important mission. Space exploration. For a new place to live in. Objects kept hitting their planet, causing explosions. Now, there is nothing there but erosion. Brad hit a ball into its mouth to shut it up, and kept go in. So, let's forget about that for now. Maybe they will find a place, set up a laser ray, and shoot Brad in the face. But until that day, maybe that is why they don't like the human race. But anyway, at least they won't take over our planet. They won't retaliate. They are responsible. So, Brad doesn't ruin our fate. But Brad is destroying other parts of the ozone and outer hemisphere, creating a still atmosphere, still filled with the most fear, with more drawing near. In darkness, Brad sees clear, so Brad can fight it. When it is here, Brad is ready to rock and roll. Wait a minute, I think Brad forgot to turn off the stove. There is a bun in the oven. It went stale, but no fire was started. And Brad still had what it took. And Brad will still continue to have what it takes to rock and roll with the greats. Brad just stepped up to the plate and hit another bomb away. Nobody knows where it went, and it knew it wasn't here to stay. It is an alien friend of Brad's pitching the balls to Brad. That is why, and how, everything turns out okay. I am glad me and Brad are writing this before nobody else had the chance to say, hip hop, hooray. Brad and Brad's chick saved the day, because a star in the dark never loses sight, like people with their eyes on the balls, as they all take flight, turning the night white, like a sudden snowstorm. Wait 1 minute, this just in. We need to move on. Brad and I have been given a mission to make everybody take notice and listen, to give hope to those who can't cope, to help their futures glisten as mine and Brad's disappear off into the distance, which gives us reason to keep moving and breathing, grooving and believing. Brad is big. Brad controls the world, economies. Brad has no time to spend on enemies. Brad is important. Brad has a lot to achieve. Brad walked along a road. Brad seen a toad. It hopped onto Brad's shoulder. And they went home. Brad has potential. You have potential. Brad is in the bottom of the barrel, right where Brad wants to be. Where the only place to go is up, unless Brad doesn't. M-O-B-E. Brad's life is up to B-R-A-D. For me, Brad is a H-O-T-D-O-G. Brad cuts Brad's self and uses the blood for ketchup. If Brad bleeds for me, I cut the mustard and relish Brad instantly. The world is going to pots. So, it is time to cook. So, Brad makes people stew and throw up. With Brad, I have so much class. I curtsy when I pee and drop poop from my ass. Nobody will know. Brad is an average Joe. If I keep praising Brad and saying stuff that makes Brad seem incredible, Brad was going to say something, but didn't. Maybe that is a good thing. Brad was probably just kidding. Brad needs to take things more seriously while Brad is living. Cool beans and rice. When all said is nice. Everybody relax. Brad is back with an axe, ready to chop your head off and watch you collapse. It is like Brad is a piece of shit and everybody else are corn niblets. Your brain has more value in a jar than Brad's brain has in Brad's head. People think Brad is brain dead. Brad was born, raised, and is now highly praised. Brad is caught in a bind. Please, don't close the book on Brad. It is a cover. What would Brad be if Brad wasn't the best? If Brad was anything else, to me, at least, it would not make any sense. Brad lived the worst life anybody could have lived, and turned it into the best life anyone could live. Brad took too many to the chin, but as Brad's face went up, angels kissed Brad on the nose and cleansed Brad of all Brad's sin. Brad doesn't work out because Brad's life always works out. For Brad, nobody needs to worry about Brad committing suicide. Brad's head is so thick, a bullet would never get inside. Me and Brad went to the mattress store, but we did not have enough money for a whole one. So me and Brad bought the mat and paid for the rest later. Brad is the best. Brad is a force not to be reckoned with. People don't like Fun Gus. I don't know why. Fun Gus is a fun guy. Brad seen a dog in the fog. It turned out to be a turtle out for a jog. Actually, it was in a race. First place. It said a rabbit was back there, sitting on a log, and then it moved along, whistling to the beat of one of Brad's songs. Brad went on Brad's way and spotted the bunny, sitting bobbing its head, listening to a Brad song. And that is where the story of the tortoise and the hare originated from. Brad left then and doesn't know what happened, but heard the tortoise won Brad only cares that they were listening to Brad's songs. When Brad starts watching YouTube videos, Brad starts making history. Brad is turning into Scratcher, the rapper. Scratch that, says Scratcher, rapper. Brad, scratch rap, the new kind of whatever music this is now. Must have. Brad is a rock star. Brad is a cock star. Brad is a crock star. Brad will knock you out with a kitchen sink, then cover you with curtains, then go out and eat, then meet me, Brad's lady, 4-hour date at the skating rink, then come back for the sink and curtains. Or maybe Brad will just keep working. Brad is not only the boogie man, Brad is also the boogie woogie man. Brad don't know what to say. So may you rest peacefully in your grave, and may your spirit get raised. But may you do well in either place, heaven or hell. R.I.P. Sorry, you are deceased, but in Brad's mind, I have to find a good place, stay, and let it put a permanent smile on Brad's face. Then me and Brad can do something good for the human race, instead of being a disgrace. Post haste. Hey, it is B.R.A.D. Mr. Negativity. Forget the other person, whoever that might be, and forget B.R.A.D. It is the power of positivity. Brad is changing Brad's name. Brad is now Mr. Positivity, and Brad is living positively in positivity. Possibly, Brad is a dirtball. Brad is living with Brad's back against a wall. Brad is worth it all, but Brad is somehow still bound to fall. Brad would put a bullet in Brad's head, but Brad doesn't think Brad would survive. So, Brad won't, because Brad wants to be alive, or at least leave it up to God to decide. Brad would cut Brad's throat, but it would make too many people cry, or not. Either way is a reason not to try. This is just a joke. Laugh, maybe sigh, wave, maybe say hi when you see Brad as you keep walking by. Brad will beat you in 2 seconds flat, then go play baseball, step up to the plate, and hit home runs with the bloody baseball bat. If you do not think Brad is the best, just step up, and Brad will give you cardiac arrest. And Brad's next set of lyrics will be to the dying heartbeat in your chest. As an audience witnesses you taking your final breath, Brad sees a girl and says, Brad is an astronaut, and Brad is about to board a spaceship headed toward Uranus. Watch your mouth. It is not good enough to let it run about. It would get beat if it ran wild on the street. If you are into glitches and punching yourself until you need stitches, then listen to this, because that is how Brad writes Brad's lyrics. So, it is natural if you feel like that when you hear them. Hello, said the guitar to the cello. Then added, are you feeling mellow? No, the cello bellowed. Thank you for asking. You are such a kind fellow. Brad is as solid as they come. If a bullet got shot at Brad, it would probably bounce off of Brad and into a girl's bum when she is bending over to tie her shoe up and make her say, Brad wants to leave people with a good taste in their mouth, and people should like their own blood. So, that is what Brad tries to bring out. New car, caviar, step in rock star, you're going far, I will lead you to your dream, which will take you to your limousine. which will take you to your private jet, which will take you to the highest point you have ever been, where you can live like a king with your choice of queen, and together rule everything. Brad brings up the rear, then Brad kicks it down, out of fear. When Brad can't find Brad's book, Brad wants to stick Brad's pen in Brad's eye, but then Brad finds Brad's book, and that brings Brad relief. Inside, people don't like Brad's attitude. They put the grr in Brad's attitude. For the people, Brad has grr attitude. That is why Brad is always in a pissed off mood. Too many people misconstrued Brad's life and try to leave others confused and the likes. I think currently Brad is regretting, and later perhaps Brad will be regretting. If Brad can get over it, Brad will see what happens next. People have to stoop to Brad's level. Brad has to jump to theirs. If Brad just went at it, Brad would probably be a mass murderer, die a drug addict, or constantly have girls reproduce like a rabbit. So, Brad goes right at it. Brad put fire in my belly, and it went to my head. My hair used to be blonde, but now it is red. When Brad writes Brad's lyrics, it is like a woman coming home from work and getting something off her chest, and they are perfect and worth it. Like my and Brad's verses can be curses. There are two boobs because one boob is spelled the same, front or backward. Boob. Brad is always connected to a female, even if they are mad at Brad, they still boo me or something like that. It is just a joke. Brad always makes them happy. Ladies and their boobies. Brad rhymes make them more horny than porno movies. Brad is hell with a P at the end. In time of need, Brad's future is up in the air. Brad looks up and sees it. There it is. It just got hit by a private jet. It is alright. It turns out it was Brad's spirit. Brad's brain is turning to jelly and going into Brad's belly, then out Brad's pass minus the P, and that is what happened to it. If anybody asks me, it is big. So, Brad is on the toilet constantly. For now, Brad getting dumb doesn't show as much because Brad is still capable. It is not time to move on. It is time to stay strong. This is Brad's time, and me and Brad belong. comma 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 who knew her, pa knew her, nah ma knew her, that's ma knew her. Brad is so funny. Brad goes to comedy clubs, sits in the audience, and gets laughed at more than whoever is on stage. Brad is the cockster. Brad goes from home to home, filling cracks with Brad's cock. C-A-U-L-K. Brad is also a cockster. Brad goes from home to home, filling cracks with Brad's cock. C-O-C-K. Brad is a cock star. Brad is the cock of the walk. Brad is the cock that wakes people up when they hear Brad balk. Brad's sound. Brad is a cock strutting around, free in a pound. Brad is a balking cock in the lost and not found. Brad is trying to avoid being drowned in a flood of hatred. So Brad runs in search for higher ground, finds some, and begins climbing, but then slips and falls down, gets up, and does it over and over again. Like a circus clown, Brad wears a painted face with tears and a frown, the crier of the town. Nowhere bound and nowhere bound. Please, Lord, bring somebody to Brad that truly loves Brad. Brad is tired of sitting in fear, losing, and feeling bad for nothing. Brad is sad. Brad is a friend. Brad just doesn't know if Brad will be able to go and then come home again. Brad believes in marriage, but if Brad and I tie the knot, somebody might cut one if not both of our heads off, then walk them around in a baby carriage. Brad was supposed to die, but Brad choked, and Brad is still alive. Brad carries a mirror around with Brad, and people think Brad is conceited, but it is because other people told Brad to watch Brad's mouth, but not when to. So, Brad carries the mirror with Brad at all times, so Brad can see it. What Brad does makes Brad tired, so Brad mostly lies in bed and dreams of being retired. Brad is for life, not for show. Brad is no fail, no sail, set sail, no need to bail, no need for bail, if need, one bail. Brad is always on the trail. You can't shoot Brad down like quail. If you do, Brad will swoop down to rescue the fallen and frail. If Brad hears them calling, and Brad is able, Brad doesn't chase Brad's own tail. Brad is the hero of a true story, not a fable. If Brad gambles, Brad puts it all, including Brad's life, on the table. Brad wins every time and everything, then walks out with double or triple of what Brad walked in with and pushed toward the middle. Now, Brad dodges trouble brought to Brad by the losers that watched their cash piles dwindle. Jealous people that think they're big, that Brad cuts down to size and make feel little. A kiddo, a bitch ho, not someone to swindle. Brad keeps it simply complicated, like a relationship between a teen in love with a chick That is, just glad she ovulated. Time to move on and leave. Some people exasperated. Poor Brad. Just being alive is pretty neat. But scratch that, like a dog or a cat's tummy. Before giving it a treat, nobody turns their back on Brad. Because it is already too easy for Brad to kick everybody's ass. I am a hen, and Brad is an egg, and I have a feeling Brad is about to get laid. Brad is a human time bomb, ticking as time goes on, waiting like a clock until it is time to go off, and Brad explodes and ends up in pieces of shrapnel embedded in people that can't let it go, causing pain that is irreversible, changing the way the human race will grow. Brad is like an entity walking around invisible. Brad does what people say, and people get mad at Brad anyway. Brad keeps falling down in a bottomless hole alone. Who made Brad's shoe? And why didn't they make two? Brad walks around a lonely soul, looking for another to pull Brad out of this hole and make Brad whole. How low can you go to pull Brad out of limbo? Who made Brad's shoe? And why did they not make two? No wonder Brad stands alone in one spot and does not move. Brad is working on Brad's groove. Brad does not care. Brad is too scared. Brad is going to lose. Brad's life is too fair, and Brad is still screwed. Brad always says, "Your girl," because everybody acts like they're not a part of their world. So Brad makes them feel like gold, and then they become the most valuable commodities in the world. Brad has more money than most will ever see, and Brad can give it to Brad's self. Apparently, if need be, Brad is 100% guaranteed to please the MIND and find a path to Brad's victory. I want to marry Brad on a yacht during the sunset while sailing the Pacific Ocean, then live happy, knowing I am with the best person I could hope to get. Brad is the man, and everybody in the world wishes they were who I am. I will write something down and see if I have any lines in me. If I don't, I will sniff some coke, and that should satisfy my need. Do the J-O-B. If it does, I will come back and spread the L-O-V-E, even though you probably won't notice a thing. I want Brad to ask me to marry Brad at Dairy Queen. Brad can pop the question to me while we sit eating. I will be so surprised. I did not realize it was a special order of onion rings. Then Brad can pick one out for my finger. Then I can select one for Brad's finger. Then when we put them on, we can eat them off of each other's finger. Shit them out, then eat what's there for tomorrow's dinner. Brad thinks things up, then poops them out Brad's butt. Then that is what Brad has got. Brad is shifty. Brad could go from boring to incredible in less than nifty. Brad uplifts me with me by Brad's side. Brad is a good guy, happy inside, and no longer wants to die. Brad makes my soul fly. Brad is so fly, even in the afterlife. Brad is bound to continue, keep getting high. Brad rocks like Jesus Christ. Brad is getting Stoned for life. Brad's life is a sacrifice. Others fake it and bring it. Brad takes it and sings it. I love Brad. I was wrestling with my thoughts. Then they got KO'd by the thoughts Brad had and has. Red hearts. Think. Sex is love. Black hearts. Think. Murder on drugs is love. All hearts. Think. Brad is true love. Brad is my toaster. Brad warms up my buns. With Brad, it always depends on you. So, just let it out. You can't fuck with Brad. And, compared to Brad, you are just a sad case of jealousy. Probably. Brad doesn't give a fuck. Brad can't sleep, even standing up. A do is a did, and a did is a done. And when it is all said and done, I am glad Brad is the one. Everybody is a liar. Brad should be out, getting Brad's riches. But, instead, Brad stays in, and pretends to play with the bitches. Brad is like a kite, with no strings attached. Brad keeps rising, until only God is in sight. Higher than that, Brad looks down, and sees God, waving to Brad to come back. Brad is up, and away to whack people over the head, like Brad is playing whack-a-mole. Brad floats up and down above the holes in full control. Brad makes plans with God to stop the devil. Brad has access to every level. Scratch that. Brad is a machine. Brad is programmed to be nice. Even if Brad gets treated mean, I am a nom, a miss, and I am with stupid. Brad should make me a nom, a miss is, but Brad keeps dodging the arrows shot at Brad by Cupid. Brad is dreamy, and Brad makes me creamy. I want Brad to lean on me. Brad is lonely, and makes others steamy by writing lyrics that fill them with jealousy. I want to end Brad's misery. I hope Brad will fall in love with me. Brad is not hiding. Brad is trying to stay alone while dying. Brad has a heart. Brad needs to be loved. Hopefully, me and Brad will finish this. If not, I hope Brad will at least start to give a fuck. Most guys want to slap the smile off of Brad's face because Brad slaps the ass off of most of their dicks and onto Brad's dick at a real quick pace. Brad is fast to make others feel like a disgrace. So, with Brad, something bad is likely to take place. So, Brad throws most of what Brad sees into the waste to get replaced with something more. Brad, with Brad, something Brad is more likely to take place.